The first important game of the season, in my opinion, without a doubt, is in week 2 when the Gamecocks go on the road to take on the Arkansas Razorbacks. In my opinion, this is the biggest prove-it game in the early part of the season, and quite frankly, might be the biggest prove-it type game that the Gamecocks have had in several years. Obviously, there has been a lot of hype surrounding the South Carolina football program this offseason. There has been a lot of reason for optimism, and there's been a lot of momentum because of what they did last year, despite all the circumstances that they dealt with and the expectations that were set upon them. And all of the success they had, of course, in the transfer portal, getting guys like Spencer Rattler, like an Austin Stogner, like Antoine Wells Jr., Christian Bill Smith, Terrell Dawkins, Stefani Reed, and others as well. And when you look at all of that momentum, a lot of opposing fan bases, of course, at a certain point are going to be like, well, geez, I've heard so much about South Carolina this offseason, so what exactly are they made of? Just, are they that much better than last season? This is the first game where the Gamecocks have a chance to prove that. Obviously, they're going on the road and they're facing off against, in my opinion, the best coordinator duo in the SEC, with the Razorbacks having offensive coordinator Kendall Briles and defensive coordinator Barry Odom. Barry Odom, of course, was the former head coach at Missouri, where he was for several years before he went to Arkansas. And a lot of people are kind of surprised at this point that Sam Pittman has been able to somehow hold on to Kendall Briles and Barry Odom at this point. Many people thought at least one of those two coordinators would have already left Arkansas and taken another job, and in both cases, a head coaching position. Barry Odom obviously has the previous experience, and Kendall Briles is, of course, the son of Art Briles, and while he was embroiled in a massive scandal at Baylor many years ago, I believe a massive Title IX investigation that took place, Briles has a lot of potential, of course, to be a head coach and is a very smart offensive mind. Segueing into the offensive attack, the Gamecocks are facing the best rushing attack in the conference from last season that averaged 229.4 rushing yards per game, with 4 players by the end of last season having at least 575 rushing yards or more. And the team was led by their quarterback in KJ Jefferson, who had 664 rushing yards by season's end. Now, the reason I bring that up is this. The Gamecocks subsequently on defense gave up an average of 175 rushing yards per game last season, which ranked 4th worst in the conference. So this is going to be a massive test for this South Carolina front seven. We're really going to see if the defense has made improvements in the rush defense department this offseason. Obviously, we lose guys like Jabari Ellis, Kingsley Enagbare, Aaron Sterling, along with Damani Staley out of the linebacking core, guys that had been in this program for several years. And in particular, in my opinion, Jabari Ellis and Aaron Sterling were two guys who were really solid in rush defense. Now, we lose those two guys, plus, of course, Enagbare, who was really good at setting the edge at the minimum with pass rushing and at times in the rush defense department, and Damani Staley, a guy, again, that had many years of experience in the defense. And so now we got a bunch of new guys that are going to be in the starting lineup, and they're going to have to really get in sync and in a hurry for this Razorback rushing attack. It will not be easy stopping the Hogs over there in Fayetteville in week 2. So why is this game important overall? Well, to bottom line the whole thing, this game can be a tone setter for the entire season. If the Gamecocks go in there and get ran out of Fayetteville and blown out by 3 touchdowns plus, then most of the SEC is going to look at South Carolina and laugh at us and say, well, we knew that y'all were going to do this. We just knew that the hype was fake and that y'all weren't going to be a good team this year. But if South Carolina goes in there, finds a way to beat Arkansas, especially going into a big Week 3 matchup against their rival Georgia Bulldogs, then fans are going to look at South Carolina and say, oh, okay, all right, South Carolina might actually be up to something. Now, of course, I tell South Carolina fans this. We've had a feeling that this could happen all off season. But of course, again, the goal with these games is these are games that can change the perception of the program this upcoming season.